Hey class, Mr. Houston here. Today we're talking about Chapter 1, Lesson 3, Midpoint and Distance Formulas. We're still working on number lines and using coordinates. So midpoint is just the point that divides the segment into two congruent segments, okay? Meaning it is literally in the middle, all right? So let's take a look at example number 1. So in the skateboard design, VW bisects XY at point T, and xt equals 39.9 centimeters. Whenever you see these little marks right here, what it means is that this segment is congruent to this segment. All right, those little tick marks mean that one side's congruent to the other. Right here tells us that xt, so from here to here, is 39.9 centimeters. They want to know x, y. So they want to know the entire length from x to y. So if I know that this is 39.9, I know that this is 39.9. So to figure out xy, we're simply going to take 39.9 plus 39.9. Doesn't matter how you want to do that. Plug it in your calculator, stack it, however you want to do it. You're going to end up with 79.8. So the length of x to y is 79.8 centimeters. T in this case would be our midpoint. Okay, we don't have to be told that. We can tell that by the tick marks. Okay, making this side equal to this side. All right, example number 2. Point M is the midpoint. All right, so they're telling us point M is the midpoint, which makes this side congruent to this side. Those are those tick marks of the entire length of VW. Find the length of VM. All right, so when we know that one side is equal to the other side by the midpoint, we can set them equal to each other. So set 4x minus 1 equal to 3x plus 3. So we are trying to find out what x is. Move all your x's over to one side. I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. Cancels that out. I get x minus 1 equal to 3. I'll add 1 to both sides. I will get x equal to 4. I'm not done when I get x equal to 4. They didn't say what is x. They want to know the length of VM. VM is from here to here. So it's 4x minus 1. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug my x into it. So we'll put that x in there. So 4 times 4 minus 1. 4 times 4 is 16. Minus 1 is 15. So VM is equal to 15 units. Again, just a couple things here to point out when it comes to midpoints. Just remember, midpoint splits it in two congruent parts. Okay, this side is congruent to this side. That is what midpoint is. It is in the middle of that line or line segment. Go ahead, flip your notes over. Now, let's say we are dealing with an ordered pair. Then we have a midpoint formula, which is pretty much just the same thing as finding the average of the points. And if you think about average, it's when you add the numbers together and divide by how many numbers there are. So if we want to know the midpoint of two coordinates, we simply add their x's together, divide by 2, add their y's together, and divide by 2. So we'll use that here in example number 3. So it asks, the endpoints of RS are 1, -3, and 4, 2. Find the coordinates of the midpoint M. All right, so we are trying to find M. M is going to be equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Now you may want to come up here and make sure that you label which one is x, which one is y. So that way you simply just have to plug them in. You could even say that's x1, y1, this is x2, y2. And then we're just going to plug that into the formula. So we'll say 1 plus 4 divided by 2 and -3 plus 2 divided by 2. When we simplify that down, we're going to get 5 over 2 and negative 1 over 2. I'd be okay with that, or you could also say that that's going to simplify to 2.5 and negative 0.5. So that would be the midpoint M of the line segment RS. Add the x's together, divide by 2, add the y's together, and divide by 2. All right, so now we're going to kind of do the inverse of that. We're being told that the midpoint is 2, 1. One endpoint is 1, 4. We need to find the other endpoint. So we have our formula. So x1 plus x2 divided by 2 is equal to our midpoint. So what we're going to say here is we're going to deal just with the x's right now. So this is my x value of the midpoint. So we're going to we'll say m. So that is 2. We will say 2 is equal to the x coordinate from this. So 1 plus x sub 2, we don't know what the other one is, divided by 2. Remember, we're missing an endpoint here. So when we're missing an endpoint, one of these x's, and then we'll get to one of the y's, will be missing. So we're going to leave that one missing. So now it's just solving an equation. This is 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, so we have to multiply both sides by 2. And we'll get 4 equal to 1 plus x sub 2. Subtract 1, x sub 2 equals 3. So we know the x coordinate of our other endpoint. Now we have to find the y coordinate. It's the same sort of idea. We are now dealing with this coordinate, so 1 is equal to my y coordinate, 4 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Again, multiply both sides by 2. We'll get 2 equal to 4 plus y sub 2. Subtract 4. Y sub 2 equals negative 2. So my ordered pair for the endpoint is 3, negative 2. All right, so that's just a way to use the midpoint formula. The last formula we will use, and we'll use this quite a bit here this year, is known as the distance formula. And that's when you have coordinates that don't necessarily line up. They're not straight up and down from each other, and they're not straight across from each other. They're more diagonal, so we have to find the distance. Again, you're just dealing with their coordinates. You're going to plug and chug. So we want to know what the length of RS is with this and this. So first thing I would suggest you do is you label. You have x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and then just plug everything in. So in this case, RS will be equal to the square root of 2 minus 4 squared plus plus 3 minus negative 1 squared. And then let's simplify everything inside first. So we're looking at 2 minus 4, which is negative 2 squared, plus 3 minus negative 1. Remember, that becomes plus a positive, so this will be 4 squared. All right, so negative 2 squared will give us 4. 4 squared is 16. And so we add those together, we get the square root of 20. And they want an approximate value. So I should know this is not a perfect square. The closest perfect square is 16. The square root of 16 is 4. So I would say this is roughly, it's got to be bigger than 4 units. So we're going to say it's roughly 4.5. So our answer here is C. All right, so we're kind of doing a little bit of algebra here with the midpoint and distance formula. So make sure you understand how to use them and where we plug in, and if something's missing, how to solve from there. If you have any questions, bring them with you to class, and we will see you then.